How's it?
Off to a very high energy start already, I see, Chris.
Oh,
How's
yeah.
everyone doing on another installment of the Terrorisk podcast?
You know, I was just thinking about that.
What's that?
That almost literally became like the introductory catchphrase for the podcast.
It's not much of a catchphrase. It's a pretty standard statement.
Yeah, I guess so. You know what? It's just I realize like that's what people like haters are always going to use against you. Like anything you say consistently that could be characterized as like your thing, they're like it could be anything, whether you're a talk show host, whether you're a YouTube channel operator, whether you're a character in a drama series, like any kind of thing you repeat, if people are going to mock you, they're always going to go for the thing you repeat.
It's an easy material to do. And regardless, you end up saying things. People end up often having a kind of catchphrase to themselves that they didn't even intend to be that. Some phrase, idiom, whatever they got into the habit of saying.
You know what I noticed?
Might not even be conscious of it fully. Continue.
I noticed, what you were just saying about the whole catchphrase thing, I noticed like black people do that the most.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
Like they're
particularly mimetic or particularly inclined to yeah.
Like I have this one friend that says like lit to the max all the time.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other ones like yo, that's I don't know. I can't think of it off the head. Probably because I'm not black. But like,
yeah, there's something about them that makes them inclined to do that, I suppose.
Oh my God, there's this one YouTube channel. I used to watch it, but it just got too annoying. It's a spiritual YouTube channel. It's run by this guy Ralph Smart.
Yeah,
and he's got just too many of those. He's like, we're raising the vibrations.
Yeah,
we're breathing in that good ass prana. Take that. And he always says the same shit. And he does the weirdest shit. He's like, when he thinks he said something very profound, he's like, oh shit, slow motion left side, and he looks to the left and he goes, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
This sounds very tiresome.
But it's like that's what he does every single time.
Yeah.
So like I was like, all right, I got to start reading some of his haters now, because like that, like shit like that just compelled me to like do research. Like there has to be people that fucking hate this guy. He can't, like, there's got to be people out there. So
I mean, all the negative comments are downvoted, or maybe there's some Reddit commenting on him.
He definitely has that.
Hides them too, or downvotes them.
I mean, I would do that too if it was like if it was my job, like. But still, it was funny because like they were all. I eventually found it, like there's subreddits dedicated to like bullshit gurus and stuff.
Particularly with that feels like very contrived terminology. Even if he's framing it as something organic, the fact that you're repeating it all the time along with the little
and
gestures.
And we ain't even had breakfast yet. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Like every single video.
Yeah.
And we're out here in the heart of nature, deep divers, and we ain't even had breakfast yet. I'm like, fuck. It just like I could feel like the fucking aneurysm forming in my head.
Do you find, I wonder, is it more common with spirituality YouTubers to have that than with, say, streamers? Because streamers seem to do a lot of the same thing, though I don't watch them, so I don't fully know.
I would say he's like the biggest black spiritual content creator. Like, actually, no, that's not necessarily true. There's this other guy like Billy Carson.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like so many. He's got probably so many haters,
but probably within the. I wonder if a lot of blacks who are into spirituality are more inclined to go towards Christianity as opposed to a more New Age, or maybe a more.
This guy's definitely more New Age.
Yeah,
the guy that I'm referring to.
So that's probably go on.
I mean, because the thing about these spiritual people you find online, especially nowadays, I see a huge uptick. They all have varying degrees of like educational credentials. Like some of them, like most of them, I would say don't really have like any kind of degree in anything. I mean, Ralph Smart says, I'm a psychologist. It's like, no, you're not. You're not a fucking psychologist. Like you don't.
What does he have? Like an MBA?
I don't even think he has that. Like I think it's just it's utter bullshit. But he'll say like, yeah, I'm a psychologist. But I mean, yeah, whatever. But Billy Carson, I'm pretty sure isn't actually like actually has he's actually some sort of accomplished academic. Yeah. In like material sciences and shit. And but what the one good part to me is like, even the PhD holders are still like kind of espousing the same consistent, not the exact same, but like sort of like a consistent narrative, which I guess I could appreciate because like, well, at least it's still in lines with like people who aren't, retarded. Like, but yeah, so Billy Carson, I would say, is like on one end of the what is funny though is that guy Billy Carson, he ends up on like these fucking like Hotep channels.
Oh, okay.
You know, like talking about like we're back with another high level conversation. And this one, oh god, he's so annoying. So they did like I was trying to listen to this 2-hour podcast with Billy Carson and the host of the podcast, and the segment was called like High Level Conversations, and the host was this fucking Hotep guy.
Yeah.
And he would engage conversations like well spoken enough, but it just killed it because he would, after every other sentence, he would just be like, "You understand me?" So what you're telling me is that back then the Egyptians made contact with the aliens. You understand me? And then they taught humanity alchemy. You understand me? And I'm like, could you fucking stop saying?
They do that. They do a lot of long words that don't quite work or are unnecessary for it. Now I'm spacing on an exact example, but I would have to embarrassing myself here. A lot of needlessly complex thesaurus words. Sometimes they'll turn into like verbs or adjectives, nouns. It's fast. Hoteps are fascinating as a cultural phenomena. Though I guess it also goes along with America just being filled with new religious movements and conspiratorialism.
Now that I think about it, I think vocabulary is starting to become like a more prominent thing now, because what I think people now are realizing is they don't just have a singular type of voice.
Yeah.
There's the voice they have when they speak to people in their actual living day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Or when, they're on camera in person. And then there's the voice they have, like their writing voice.
Yeah.
And back, like a couple of decades ago, only writers had a writing voice. Only writers knew their writing voice. Only writers, you would be able to observe a writer's voice. Whereas now, everyone's kind of discovering their writing voice,
Yes.
And it's pretty different. I don't think it's always inconsistent in line.
Writing allows you to have far more dense thoughts, sentences. You can go over things far more carefully. And there's a lot of things that are comprehensible in writing that when you hear it spoken out loud, you can kind of lose the thread of it.
But that's not why I think writing is so huge now. I think writing is so big now because of this, we live in the world of the internet content,
it is.
So we're swimming in internet content. And here's the thing about internet content. Well, to me, any good internet content that isn't just like fucking memes, like any good internet content, like, like some kind of, whether it's a video or a blog or whatever, or a stream.
Yeah.
I mean, streams, I guess, are a little different, but even streams follow this. All good content of value usually starts out as writing. Like, if you're going to be a content creator, you can't be
doing off the cuff works for some things, but it really helps a lot to have notes, to have pre-planned, pre-written things.
Whether it's a storyboard, whether it's even like a loose structure, a format.
Yeah,
you gotta know how to create. You gotta know how to create those like boilerplates.
It really helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I think like, writing is probably the most important element of creating content. In fact, that's where people get stuck. Like, I want to be a content creator. Okay, so then write down some ideas. Like, what? Write down ideas? Don't have to just like film shit. It's like, no, motherfucker. You got to start by getting out a fucking simple, basic ass notebook with a regular pen and jot down ideas. Like, what do you think is you could just like you think like you're just some kind of fucking content savant and you could just pull out an iPhone and start like shitting out gold? That's not how this fucking works.
Well,
first of all, there might be people out there that do that, but the vast majority of the people that are actually good at this and making a living off it, trust me, they're doing this in a far more organized way.
Yeah, if you have a couple of different, like 3 really is a magic number. More it gets too busy, less it's too few. Frankly, 3 or 4, really more than 3. Comedians can do good stuff off the cuff, and yes, I'm referring to Come Town, but there's also other podcasts that do that successfully, but it's because as comedians, they're used to producing things that way.
Yes.
That, if you're not a trained, as Tom says, if you don't have a lot of experience doing comedy and thinking and acting that way, it's hard to just sit down and riff. Even if you and your friends are pretty funny when riffing to each other, you're not necessarily going to be able to recreate that once the camera's on you.
There are ways, though. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be foolproof for everything, but there could be some things you could do. Like, Someone made this great point. There's this show. It's an adult anime. I hate that term, but there's an adult animation called Vox Machina.
Yeah.
You ever heard of it?
Is that a D&D related one or something else? What am I thinking of?
It's a D&D related thing.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
So what, they're playing a D&D campaign there, right?
Well, the
Or
show,
no?
the cartoon is a regular cartoon.
Right.
The animation is literally about a band of misfit adventurers from like various backgrounds, various temperaments, going on like their divided and collective adventures and shit.
Yeah.
And the show, the way they write that show is there's a YouTube channel or a streaming collective called Critical Role.
Yeah.
And what they do is they get a bunch of voice actors together and literally just play a D&D campaign.
Vox Machina, voice from the machine?
What?
Is it stand for voice from the machine?
What do you mean?
Vox, voice.
Oh, Vox Machina?
Yeah.
Voice box.
Voice box, right. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Or I think voice machine or something
voice
like that.
Voice machine, yeah.
Vocal machine, yeah, voice machine or something. Voice device, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I know of Critical Role.
Yeah, so the way they write this show is they have voice, and it's literally just like streaming a D&D campaign. But what the novel part about it is they're all nerdy voice actors, which is perfect, honestly. Like you can't beat that.
I assume they glaze over the actual rolling and combat encounters, for instance.
Well, that's the beautiful part. Like you could watch them play the actual game. But then you could also watch the cartoon, which is like the crystallized. They cut out the chuff. They kept what works, and you have the same voice actors, so you're always gonna be satisfied with it. You're gonna be like, hell yeah, these are my guys. These are my dudes that I watch on YouTube. Now I get to see their cartoon, and it's the same shit. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot more refined in some ways, but also lacking in other ways. In terms of like the viewing experience.
Well, I saw the animation. It's that diet anime kind of aesthetic that now seems very common among anime.
Yeah, but they're very excessive with like the potty humor and like the overt sexual. But that's part of D&D to me, so I think that's great. And it's also like it makes sense because they're a bunch of goofy fucking nerds playing D&D. Obviously, they're gonna say some stupid shit like. I
know it's been hugely popular and it's a big factor. One of the big factors in the increase in D&D playing, also the focus on the theatrical elements of it over older gameplay designs.
Well, the whole thing about D&D, it's because people are enamored with the idea of living out their own adventure. Like truly, not just everyone playing the same game with like a handful of different endings and then arguing over which ending was the best. I mean, truly like an open book that they could write themselves.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, this was all predicted. Like when we saw Westworld, that was like a huge, like one of the big milestones of that concept, where it's like, and this is actually this leads over into a whole nother argument about like, are video games art, yes or no? And I think the smart, logical, the right conclusion is that no, video games are not inherently art. They could contain art. That doesn't make them art.
That is my feeling on video games.
Like, put it this way, like just because something contains art also doesn't make it art. Like if you took a dumpster and filled it up with like beautiful paintings, does that make the dumpster art? No, it's still a fucking dumpster that just happens to be full of art. So it's like, that being said, I mean, you look at video games and, not all of them contain, and also they can contain art, but they don't always too. That's another factor.
A lot of times they don't. I would say the vast majority of times they don't. And often when people are making a video games or art argument, they're really straining to justify.
It's because gamers,
they have a deep insecurity.
No. It's not an insecurity. I think it's a desire. Game makers and gamers just want a seat at the cultural table.
Yeah,
and they deserve that. I think they're entitled to that. They should be.
A tremendous amount of man hours are spent on video games all the time, and that's not talked about.
But here's the right, so just because video games aren't always art doesn't mean I think it's any less valuable or any less.
No,
important.
I agree.
So the thing about video games, I don't think. Like people want to interpret video games as art because they're so obsessed with the idea of video games expressing something.
I think that's an insecurity.
Personally, I don't think video games are necessarily about expression, or like whatever. I think it's really about how you view and interpret the human state of play. and play as a means of passing the time, play as a means of sharing laughs, or more profoundly, play as a means of exploring very deep aspects of yourself you would never be able to in real life. A good way to put this is like, you know, in reality, the truth is all of us cannot be like fucking space marines and pirates and fucking, you know, cowboys and shit. Like we can't. We got to do shitty jobs, like be janitors and secretaries and, you know, like fucking parking meter cops and shit. Like the world needs people to do shitty jobs. So at least with video games, we have opportunities to be able to explore. What would I be like if I had an opportunity to be a villain or a hero or an adventurer? Like what that's why video games are valuable. Now, here's the thing about like where I say video games aren't necessarily about expression. They're more about exploration, because that's what play is about. Play is an essential part of that. And also, I would say that's intrinsically tied to expression, because what do you have to express unless you do like explore something a bit first, you know?
Yeah.
So experiencing and exploration has to also precede creativity and expression anyway. It's essential. So it's like, this is why I think, video games aren't always art, but it could potentially be more important than art.
Fuck, yeah, you know, I see it.
It could potentially be like something that's more tied to our human development, you know.
I can get behind all of that. A positive quality of video games, or maybe video games are scratching an itch we all have, which is, for tens of thousands of years, humans were engaged in repetitive manual dexterity tasks.
Yeah.
Like napping flint. Excuse me. Or stones in general. You know, napping, hitting two different stones together to craft another one. Or women spinning thread, not even just weaving or sewing, but the actual process of making thread by, you know, spinning around plant fibers or whatever.
Yeah.
All of our ancestors did a lot of these small, fine dexterity tasks and spent hours doing it, perhaps hanging out and talking with their friends, likely actually given how social we are.
Yeah.
Video games provide they fulfill the same need that hammering two stones together would be.
Oh, so you're saying like
on a physical basis.
So you're just saying like so basically what you're acknowledging is that the human body, the human physical body, is the animal.
Yeah.
You could separate the mind from the physical animal,
yeah.
which is true, which is essentially what spirituality is about. You're able to mentally distinguish your mental body with your physical body. I mean, when we discuss prayer and meditation, what you're essentially doing is you're taming the animal. That's what like the animal wants to go and do shit and eat and, you know, scratch your balls and jack off and pee and go fuck bitches and, you know, go drink, and that's what the body wants. That's not necessarily what the soul and the mind wants, but that's just what the bodily impulses want. That's the animal. It's really about taming the animal. There's many ways to do it.
Yeah.
So you're saying like video games gives that animal some like stimulus to be satisfied, basically.
No, I'm saying that we have a compulsion that without video games wouldn't be being met.
Oh.
A physical one from years of evolution. Well, I guess other manual tasks like whittling would do the same thing.
I guess I can't consider like video games that much of significant in that sense, because there's so many other things you could do that other than video games that also accomplishes that exact thing.
Yeah, manual tasks,
like fishing, riding bicycles, you know, like.
However, a tremendous number of people do play them, as we do, and as opposed to riding a bicycle or fishing, it's, I don't know, small. You're constantly using your hands in this small, repetitive manner. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's probably very good for dexterity.
I think what's really all right. So the reason why, like, I can't look at it as like objectively and practical as that, because there is one aspect. You're right. Like, we do have this like kind of.
I think what you're saying before is way more pertinent and relevant to the cultural.
Relevance of video games,
yeah.
So I was.
This is just a theory of mine that it has this added bonus.
But what it's really pointing to, like whether it's video games or something else, it could be like what you're saying, like whittling something or fucking.
Yeah.
What it's really about is engaging in a state of play.
Yeah.
That is the important part, because you really can turn anything into play.
Yeah.
I mean, just as much as like you could turn anything into art, you could turn anything into play. And play is extremely essential for human development, just as much as art is. We need to have the freedom and the space to play. And all right, so then let's talk about like what exactly makes something play. It's not just like, you know, doing something like semi-competitively, and it's not just doing something repetitively. A state of play, I think, opens you up to doing one thing into something else.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you have to do homework or ride a bike to work every day, right?
Yeah.
You could look at it literally as just riding a bike to work every day, but in your mind you could be like, I'm actually like piloting a fucking like one of those fucking like levitating bikes from Star Wars, and I'm just like dodging crazy battlefield shit, and you're playing this all in your mind and you're gamifying it however you want. Like if I could get it to my destination, my target destination, in, you know, 1 minute faster than last time, then I'll save the whatever, I'll save the world. That's engaging in play. We did that. This is like one of the first things we learned how to do as like young children, you know. So it's like it's clearly
probably facilitates learning.
Yes, exactly. It's important because it's learning is all what experience. All the biggest points of learning is all experiential.
Yeah.
If you're able to conjure states of play, what you're conjuring is experience. I mean, it may not be accurate and it may not be as beneficial as a real thing, but it's still highly impactful. You know.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to things like approximating the experience of something that you're never going to experience in reality. You know, like you would say in a video game. I mean, I don't mean to sound like some kind of like crazy insightful person on this subject. I watched a lot of like content and read a lot of essays regarding this exact thing. Cause like video games are important to me. Like, cause I love video games. I'm not like a creator of video games. I'm not like a critic of video games. I'm just an avid lover of video games. So it makes me wonder, like, you know, why do I love video games? It's not like what makes video games tick to me, or it's like what games are good, or it's like how do you make video games? It's really just
what
like
is stimulating about them.
Yeah, like why do I like this?
So what are some genres of video games you don't like at all?
I don't think there's any genre of video game that I like outright dislike. I mean, unless the video game is just outright like purposely made with obscurity in mind. Like I can't handle that. Like when,
because I mean, what are some genres you're less likely to play, or that aren't as appealing to you?
Oh, you mean like my favorites compared to my least favorite genres?
Yeah.
I guess one genre that the
reason why I led with what are your least favorite is because I wanted to ask the question of video games you don't like that you can acknowledge objectively are good. What is it about them or about the style of game you don't like?
Well, honestly, the video games that I'm least likely to play are like simulation, like driving simulators, racing games, sports games.
Yes,
I mean, I think they're good. I don't think they're bad games at all. I enjoy them too when I play them.
I was confounded watching like my Algerian normie roommates, great guys, play FIFA.
Yo, you really can't imagine that though. Like those games,
I could see why, but I'm not. I can see why you're playing with the other guys in the room right there.
Well, yeah, I agree with you.
And you know the sport.
At one point, you were right. Like, that's all it was. But nowadays, it's way more in depth. Now, it's like you get to live the fantasy of being a pro fucking athlete in, like, the World League. Like, you get to, like, make your character. You get to, like, sign deals. You get to get your merch deals. Like, it's sick, you know? That's, like, a hardcore
Well, there's some kind of...
But that's engaging in a state of play. How would I like what would it feel like if I were that fucking pro athlete? It's the same shit. It's having the ability to craft that narrative for yourself in your mind.
When you play an actual team sport in real life, how much do video games feel like that?
An actual team sport in real life?
Yeah. Are you fantasizing when you're doing it?
It depends on what's at stake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like, you know, it's what you just said. It's a very video games are a very personal thing, you know, because ultimately it is just you staring at a screen, and maybe someone else is staring at the same screen. They're staring at another screen with the same characters in the same server, whatever. But team sports, it's like it's a very visceral thing. I think that's like a whole different element, you know, and it exercises very different things in our experience. Yeah. But I love team sports. I think team sports is pretty cool. Because that also engages in a state of play, just in a very different sense. Like a state of play in a sense where it's more social. For example, I will like, let's say I just meet a person for work, right?
Yeah.
And I only know him on the level as a coworker, and that's all I ever view him as. To me, in my reality, he is just Bob the coworker, Bob the guy who works for accounting, Bob just that guy who always wears these suits on these days, who eats this for lunch every single day, and this on these days. That's just Bob. That's all Bob is to me. Until one day we go to like a company softball game, and then I get to see
he's eating a bagel there.
No, I see that he's eating a bagel there, or I get to see how Bob actually like handles pressure. I get to see what happens when Bob is has to step up to the plate. I get to see how Bob handles a good competitor. I get to see what Bob is like in the spirit of competition. Like, is he just like over it before it even starts? He's like, I'm not really. This isn't really my thing. I guess I'll just do the move. Or is Bob like the guy who's like, nah, come on, let's do this. This is fucking great. You know, like how often do we get to do this shit? The weather's great. Let's fucking play ball. Like then you learn way more about a person. So it's because of that state of play, you get to learn more about each other, not just yourself. You know, that is what like I think the value of team sports is. It's also I don't know, it's just the things that the human body could do. That's also really cool stuff. But yeah, that's why I think team sports can be like really good, even on a casual level to a professional level. It's still worth engaging in, you know?
Yeah.
It says a lot. So it's like whenever you see like just a family, like one of those big families playing family touch ball, it's not just a game of touch ball. Like there's a lot of I think there's a lot of like communication dynamics, like subtext going on in between all that shit. Everything from the aunts and the moms watching to like the boys on the field actually like, you know, communicating and you know, getting a feel for each other and shit.
Yeah. That collective experience you're enjoying.
Yeah. And that's a fertile ground for human experiences, for further human experiences. I mean, you know how many relationships are started because, like, you know, two couples bump into each other at the same bar, watching the same game, rooting for the same team, or rooting for the opposite team. It's like, oh, you're a Celtics fan. Oh, fuck you. You're a fucking...
There's some greater communal purpose that is fulfilled by it, in addition to it being entertaining or enjoyable. There's... You get to be part of something larger, as you were saying.
Yes.
And you're able to synchronize with others.
But the dynamic it revolves around isn't leverage, isn't political power, isn't resources. It's just about play, the state of play.
Yeah.
You know who actually really educated me on this shit? Fucking Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
He hid a lot of fucking weird referential essays and stuff in Death Stranding. Like if you like really comb through like all the shit that's buried in there, like documents and stuff, like I mean, he goes into this whole philosophical thing about like clearly he got spiritual at some point, like because you almost take it for like, you know, for face value. He's like, oh yeah, there's the ha and the ka, there's the soul and blah 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 and blah blah blah. I'm like, this is like ancient Sumerian fucking like spiritual. What the fuck? Like, right. Hideo Kojima, when did you get into this shit? Like,
probably a very long time ago. He probably did it independently as a teenager.
I think it's also an artist thing. Like, if you're any kind of creative person, like you're gonna be naturally inclined to explore this at some point or another. I don't mean creative as in like, you know, you have to be a prolific artist or a video game producer. I just mean any like creativity manifests in a lot of ways. You know, it manifests in like writing, it manifests in fashion, it manifests in cooking, it manifests in, you know, a lot of shit. But I think the more creative a person is, that is this kind of like X factor quality that's what makes humans special. Like, isn't it? I mean, it's not our ability to fight and fuck and all that shit. There's so many animals that could do that way better. It's our ability to be creative.
And, well, what else? Speech, being bipedal, having these dexterous hands. Highly social and communal because of intelligence and, dexterity and all the relating intelligence boosts. We're able to operate at such a larger colony level than any other eusocial animal. Eusocial animals are like ants and bees, but they have incredibly socially complex organizations, arrangements as well.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, all right. So, how do you feel about like?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What were you saying? No, you said.
I was gonna say I wanted to mention. I was going to say about genres of video games I don't like. I don't like anything that's too much like a AAA production that's some kind of action adventure
Because there's
game.
no artistry in it.
Nope, it's not that. I don't find it fun
Oh.
to play. And it's like, I don't want to watch this boring cutscene. I'd much rather play a strategy game where I don't have to think of a story or consider the writing within the game. It's just going from mechanic to mechanic.
Yeah.
I like strategy games that feel like that, or board games. Or like roguelike RPGs where I don't even have to deal with the RPG story. I can just look at a character sheet the entire time.
You saying you don't like that?
I love that.
Oh, okay.
I love that. I don't like story-driven games anymore.
All right. So how do you feel about like where it's solid on both ends? Like you ever do you like MMOs, or like you don't like MMOs?
I fucking hate MMOs. MMOs are a genre I uniquely always hated. Even
Why?
as a
Because
boy.
that's like that should be like your ideal, because all you do is look at stats in like MMOs.
I know, it's crazy. I don't like the gameplay flow, and I don't like the time investment. I don't have the patience for it, nor to interact with others socially within it. I always just wanted and frankly, I just find the mechanics.
I mean, we
dry.
talked about MMOs,
Yeah.
like with fucking like.
I'm sorry, I've probably gone at length, but how much I despise them.
Wait, yeah, no, I'm sorry. You continue. Why do you despise them again?
The gameplay,
It's
feels
wiggity
so-
wiggity whack.
Yeah. I don't like how floaty it is.
And you don't like how looty it got, like with like
I don't like.
pay to win systems and shit.
Obviously, don't like that.
And the aesthetics are never good, because
No,
so
the
much of the
aesthetics are
effort is
good.
put into like the mechanics and the overall like
I just
server
find the mechanics
behavior.
very boring, and I feel like there's a lot of grinding and a lot of waiting, and all the social element of aspects of it.
Do you think it'll get better? It has the potential to get better.
I think MMOs are dead as a genre. They'll probably be revived at some point, maybe in 10 years.
Like with some crazy major gap in technology, like MMOs.
Yeah, I
become-
think MMOs are dead for a while.
until we get some haptic system that can make our
Right.
like wiener have like realistic vaginal sex, then like MMO.
I think social media killed MMOs. I think social media really fulfilled a lot of the needs that previously MMOs.
I argue
fulfilled.
social media is an MMO.
Yeah, or that works. It's the successor MMO then.
Yeah.
A one that's more engaging
It's a mass
and funner.
multiplayer online game.
And oftentimes the only fun part of an MMO was
The social part, yeah,
aspect.
just like talking
So this cuts
shit.
out social media cuts out the boring game part of it.
You know what this means?
What?
All right, basically everything would just be better that way. Like if Netflix had a comment section, I bet nobody would even have to watch the fucking movies. They'll just subscribe.
But I love watching movies.
But
Or used
at
to.
least that'll be there, for on
Yeah.
Netflix. That's what they're there on Netflix for. I mean, yes, it's cool that you could connect on Netflix over comments, but Netflix is still Netflix. I just think Netflix would be way fucking better with a comment system. Like people could leave comments on this shit. It would be so good.
Yeah.
Like Amazon reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon reviews are, first of all, they're a necessity. You have to have some kind of review system in that kind of like online wholesale retailing site. But it's always like, a fertile ground for like some really, really like good content.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I read just real quick, like there's this motherboard that costs like $9,999. It's a version of the Threadripper.
Yeah.
And the comments were so like every single comment was like, it's okay. It runs Fortnite and Roblox just fine. Next one's like, oh, this renders porn amazing. The next one's like, oh, it didn't render my skibbity doo toilet meme video with like Grimes, whatever, like discography.
Yeah, whatever the kids are into these days.
Yeah. So it was, I don't know. It's just like, it just goes to show, like, I think like with Netflix, it would just be crazy. Like it would be so much better. You got the itis.
Yeah.
What kind of sandwiches you have?
That was like a grilled chicken breast with like a vinaigrette. It was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm used to. Well, the price is perfectly reasonable.
Don't worry. Soon, this podcast will make money, and instead of booze, we'll be doing coke before the episodes. And
Yeah, then we'll really get good. We'll really be able to focus in on a plot thread.
we'll focus a little too hard on a plot thread.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I just think Coke is probably unfortunately the best drug for podcasting.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It sharpens your wits. You're speaking faster. Ideas come more rapidly.
Yeah.
Your higher energy.
Yeah. I definitely do think. I mean, I could easily solve this question myself, answer this question. I'm still afraid to find out. Like, I probably did get better with speaking, like from podcasting, and I'm just afraid to go back to the earliest episodes and to listen to myself in like episode 1.
Well, just listen briefly, and then you'll realize what a big change you made.
Well, it's like it's so painful. Like I just can't bring myself to look at it, to listen to it. But you know what? It's probably worth it. I'll probably like laugh at it. I mean, it's been a fun project so far. Today, I actually just released episode 100.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know what? I'll take it. It's good to be congratulated for it. I mean, I don't take it seriously, but it's nice that someone congratulated me for it. You know. And it's also, I don't know. Something in my intuition tells me I should just keep doing it because it doesn't cost me it's not costing me anything.
Yeah.
In fact, I've just been benefiting from doing it. I get to spend more time with my friends. I get to go over some of the stuff I've been thinking about. You know, like one of the things, like especially like, it's completely irrelevant. Like we were just talking about video games and art and how video games are art. What is undoubtedly art is like movies and television shows, and like how like video games kind of bleed into that too. Because when they start making like TV version, like televised or I don't know, what would you call it, like
television series that are adaptations of a video game.
Yeah, video game adapted TV.
You're gonna talk about Fallout.
Yeah, because we just saw Fallout. It's a good fucking show.
It's better than I expected. I still hate the lore changes, but I was surprised that it was better than I expected.
That fucking lead is so good.
Yeah.
You know, they said she should play like on the main character in the show for if they ever made like adaptation of Portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be that chick.
I could see that.
But that would be blasphemy. Like to make a TV series of Portal before making like a TV series of like a half. But you can't make.
I can't see a TV series being made out of Portal. It's a fun little puzzle game, and the narrative it tells works just fine within that circumstance.
I think it's also because people are in love with the characterization.
Yeah, I see no way in which you would adapt that. Nor should you.
I mean, I didn't. Did you ever imagine that Fallout could be like a successful TV show?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, maybe not when I was a boy.
I used to think they would butcher. I thought they were gonna butcher it.
They did butcher Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas lore.
I feel like it was kind of unavoidable, though.
They could have said it in a different area of the country. They could have said it on the East Coast. They could have done any number of things differently.
You know what would have been way crazier that they never would have done? If they did like Fallout China.
Yeah, exactly. Also, lack of interest, probably.
That's true. That would be insane. I wonder.
Fallout is very much a story about
Americana.
Yeah.
That's one of the most charming parts of Fallout. It's the fact that it's an American tale. No matter how you cut it, it's always going to be an American story.
Yeah.
But because if they ever did cross over into like Fallout China territory, it would stop being Fallout.
Which Fallouts did you play?
I played all the crappy ones. I played a bit of 2, like briefly in the beginning of 2. I barely played 3. I only played up to like Megatron. I played 4, and I played all the DLC for 4, which were really nice. I should have played 1. I feel like 1 is worth playing, but I never got to play it.
It is. I played 1, 2, Tactics, which is a spin-off that doesn't count. Barely played 3, played New Vegas a decent amount, somewhat played 4.
Oh, I did play New Vegas. New Vegas was good.
Yeah.
New Vegas is a good
one. Fallout is a fascinating series because on the internet in the late 90s, fans of Fallout 1 were complaining about how casualized and how they ruined the tone of Fallout 2.
Really?
1 year later, by the same company, same team. There was a huge controversy within the Fallout community over whether only 1 was good or if 1 and 2 were good. 1, 2, New Vegas.
You know what? I was surprised about that fall. The series did was they really like leaned into the gruesomeness a lot, which is pretty cool. I wasn't expecting them to go so hard into that.
I was expecting that. I was expecting a lot of cartoonish violence.
Yeah, you're right. It was good
because it's in the first and second game and the 3 and 4. Timeline issues, the handling of NCR, all that. I'm not very. I don't
know how I feel about Dog Meat. He's always a heartbreaking character. I don't know if I wanted him in the show. It was kind of pointless to put. It was just
they had to have a dog. But yeah, it just becomes meandering. It's a look at this that's in the video game.
It's purely a fan service thing.
Yeah. The Vault Mystery stuff was good and fun.
Okay, so
changing perhaps the characterization of it does seem like it's designed to completely overwrite New Vegas, though. Like Mr. House is in like the last episode, and his character is nothing like what he is in the game.
I didn't finish New Vegas, so I didn't get all the reference. I know like the whole the Republic thing was also like a big deal when
suggesting the nuclear war was started by Vault-Tec is I dislike that immensely.
Really?
Yes.
Because it was originally started between like basically the Eastern Bloc.
It's unknown who fired the first shot. That's part of the point.
Oh, so you don't like that the show basically confirmed it in canon that Vault-Tec
This was never. The previous possibility was just the U.S. or the CCP, PRC sent off the first missile. There was some misengagement. The idea that it was a conspiracy that induced the World War, I find distasteful.
Well, Vault-Tec was also revealed to be nothing more than just like a merchant mafia between like fucking Robco.
Yeah, it's a merger of several other companies. I forget which ones, but yeah.
That's why the vaults are so whacked out and so diverse, because it's literally the machinations of like multiple
social experiments. Multiple social experiments. I would prefer that the nuclear war was started by one or both. It is, the show did not mention China at all, in fact. Did you notice that? There was no mention of the Chinese in it?
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I know why, for a market reason. But in the game, they do mention China a fair amount.
Yeah, it's big. China's a big deal. Anchorage. Never forget Anchorage.
I've been
to Anchorage, actually.
Yeah.
Well, only in the airport, because that's a stop to going to South Korea. But yeah, what were you saying?
In Fallout 2, there's like a Chinese submarine that lands and populates San Francisco.
That's awesome.
And San Francisco has like a supercomputer that's the sub's computer.
Xi Jinping computer.
Yeah, it literally has some Chinese name. I forgot what it was.
That's funny. I mean, they did have some brilliant, but none of the Fallout games were ever perfect games. That's what's cool about it.
They're often glitchy. I like 1 and 2 a lot. They have flaws. They have bugs. I agree.
I mean, 3 is fucked up. 4 is fucked up.
I'm not talking about them, but I mean,
I'm saying every
2.
single Fallout game has been fucked up.
1 and 2 weren't that were playable at release. They weren't glitchy the way the Bethesda games were, or New Vegas.
But it makes sense why they were glitchy, because they were so expansive compared to like each iteration, like last iteration. Well, 1 and 2 were actually more just closer to each other than 3 was a massive jump in technology, and 4
2 is mostly reusing assets from 1.
I think 3 was like first the technological breakthrough, but then Las Vegas was like the true Fallout game of that generation. Las Vegas was the actual Fallout. Like that's apparently touted as the true Fallout 3. Like Fallout.
Oh, it is the true. As far as I'm concerned,
Fallout 3
Fallout
3 should have never really happened compared to New Vegas.
Todd Howard hates New Vegas. A lot of Bethesda.
Well, that's terrible, because Fallout Las Vegas is clearly more beloved, and it makes more sense.
Yeah, they hate that. They really resent that.
Because it makes more sense canonically, too.
Yeah, apparently
But it just goes because to them, they're pissed off that Todd Howard's side was probably the ones who made the technology and who wrote the initial story. They broke their. Meanwhile, the other guys were like, "Thanks for the tech. We'll write it. We'll do better." And they did. That's exactly what they did. They were like,
yeah, and that's why they were pissed and spiteful and hateful towards New Vegas.
But you can't help it because New Vegas was just too, it was too perfect. I guess
I don't know, but apparently, probably the long-term trend seems to be doing an alternate telling of New Vegas. There's no mention. Maybe I'm sure in the sequel, in this next season, they'll have Caesar's Legion.
You know what I expect in the next season? They're going to do a time skip, conveniently skipping over so much shit over years and years and years.
From what year to what year?
I'm pretty sure the main character of the series, if they ever did a second season, the main character of the series is going to be much older. The brother is going to be the same age because the brother was put into cryosleep. So he's going to be consistent. She's going to be portrayed either by an older actress or made to look older and then die immediately. Because otherwise, why would they put him in cryosleep unless they were planning some kind of time skip where would they, once he reconciles with the sister?
No, it just becomes a thing where she in a week's time, she rescues him from cryosleep.
I don't think so.
I don't think they're doing a big time jump.
They're gonna do a time skip. This is a good. This is because I think both are plausible. They might not, and they might do it. But I think they might actually fuck with the time skip because that's literally what they did in Fallout 4.
Maybe for a few months of time or a few weeks.
No, they got to do at least a few years.
I don't think they're doing years.
They're gonna do a few years because first of all, they didn't have a set destination. The main character and the wandering ghoul. Like they clearly,
Noggins.
They clearly didn't really know where they were going, and also what's his name just got into the position of a decorated knight, so that's going to be something that you don't want to have to develop these things the slow burn way. No, they're not going to do it that way. They're just going to do a convenient time skip and this is what's been this is what's happened. And the brother, of course, he's going to come back exactly as he was because he was put to sleep. And
I can't see them replacing actors or even just skipping ahead in time. I feel like it's just going to continue at most a few months later as far as the time skip goes.
All right, they could keep the same actors, but they could do a few years, at least.
Why a few years? Because of the cryosleep of the brother?
Because that's I can't see why they would do that.
The other reason why is that he's imprisoned like Han Solo.
Yeah, but who's going to get him out? No one's
His sister. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, but she's got this whole other shit going on. She's got to go save.
It'll come back around or something.
She's got to deal with her fucking father and all that shit.
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea is that the actual control of everything that went on is still being puppeteered by those crazy corporations. They're still in control.
Yeah, I don't like this storyline.
Well, to me, the conventional storyline was the ones in control, the Illuminati of the Fallout universe was the Institute.
No, that's not for 1 or 2 or New Vegas.
No, it was for 3 and up. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't like that as a concept either.
Well, that could be easily retconned if you go with the idea that the Institute was wiped out by either,
basically all the East Coast Fallout stuff I just don't care about or consider canon. I'm annoyed that I wish the TV show was East Coast set. I don't like that it's West Coast set.
Because there's too much East Coast content. You got Fallout, the fucking online game, which is.
I don't see why not do it. It seems very reasonable to me.
Fallout 4 takes place in Boston. Fallout 3 takes place in fucking DC. It's all East Coast already, so I think Fallout 5 is do you think they'll ever make a good Fallout game?
Fallout 5, supposedly Fallout 5 is going to be West Coast, and it's Bethesda taking over the West Coast.
Because that's really what we should be asking. Are they capable of making
this show's fall? Next game is going to be after the events of the TV show, or that's the plan.
Because that's what we're basically saying here is that they haven't been able to make a good Fallout game for a long time. Since I guess Las Vegas,
New Vegas.
Since New Vegas, yeah.
New Vegas was not developed by Bethesda. It's developed by.
But that's actually
Obsidian.
honestly untrue because those,
the technology was developed by Bethesda, but the actual game, the storytelling, the quest events would not be Bethesda.
I actually like Fallout Shelter a lot.
Yeah, the mobile game.
Yeah, it's like a little ant farm, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fun or enjoyable.
Yeah, you could just let them rock, you know, or you could send a couple of your guys on adventures.
Yeah.
To scavenge and loot. Yeah, Fallout is a very charming series. Definitely much love for this show. I mean, not that much love. A little bit of love. I mean,
I'm a big fan of 1, 2 in New Vegas.
I was impressed with the show because my Doomer friends online liked the show. They were like, I like the Brotherhood of Steel character because he is kind of like that representation of the prototypical gamer of Fallout. He's like, man, I just want to put on the suit and kill shit, you know, like just give me the fucking suit and give me the gun and just want to come fucking kill shit.
Yeah,
that's so funny. Oh, but the whole thing was like so Fallout. They managed to capture the spirit of.
I don't know. Some people would say the spirit should be a lot glummer than that. I don't mind it being wackier, but
it was pretty fucking bleak.
I don't know. This is a Fallout environment. The big thing is I like Fallout as being a series about the post-apocalypse. I like it being about civilization rebuilding. And I like seeing it progress from 1 to 2 to New Vegas. And the show is frustrating or annoying to me because it feels more like the level of Fallout 1 of soon after the events.
But it doesn't take place much later.
Okay, you know how in New Vegas
takes place way later. You're right.
New Vegas takes place 3 years after the show.
Oh, so that's why people have a problem with it.
Yeah, by Fallout 2, which takes place, I don't know when, a bit before the show, Fallout 2, already you have the New California Republic. You have new settlements being built, not built out of scrap, but are healthy, like 20th century level, tech level.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of that in this show, but it was a whole big portion of California was almost on a...
See, it would make sense if they just did a time skip then, you know, like...
They should have had it earlier.
They'll skip through the whole Las Vegas thing. It's like, oh, that's... You know what? Maybe that's the time skip. They'll just they won't cover anything.
I think they're going to completely erase New Vegas.
What if they don't do that and they just skip directly ahead of Las Vegas, like New Vegas?
That would make more sense, but I don't think they're going to do that.
But if you were in their position, wouldn't you do the time?
If it was in their position, I was having the show set in that year.
You might as well do the fucking time skip.
No, I would not. It would look. It wouldn't look so decrepit. Things would be, at least in these areas. I know they show a scene briefly of Shady Sands.
Yeah, that got fucked up.
I don't like Shady Sands being nude because this is...
Did they explicitly say it was nude?
Yes.
They said it was a nuclear explosion? Okay.
And they said that happened in like 22... It would have to be like 2266 or something.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of it in New Vegas. No mention of the NCR collapsing in New Vegas. It just completely erases everything that happened in New Vegas, all the canon.
Damn. I guess the time skip is the only way they won't be able to... They could not piss off New Vegas fans.
They've already pissed off New Vegas fans.
Damn. Well, what if
they just retconned?
What if they made a New Vegas remake? What if that's what Fallout 5 was?
That would be so infuriating if it's a New Vegas remake.
That would be fucked up. That would be really fucked up. Oh my god, what if that's really what's going on here? What if it really is a New Vegas remake?
Already it feels like the show's designed to spite New Vegas fans.
Rip.
Frankly, it's also kind of spiting original fans in general.
Oh man, I
thought it an enjoyable show. Don't get me wrong, as an alternate universe canon,
like a comic book of sorts.
Yeah,
like a visual, like a watchable. Comic
I'm not
book.
calling it an accurate adaptation of the games because there's a deep divide from those stories to this.
Also, Fallout. I'm surprised the show didn't like show anything about synths, but I guess it would make sense. I mean, it would complicate things.
Yeah, the show really should just be East Coast set and only deal with Bethesda material.
No, they delved into the.
They had to destroy New Vegas. Or destroy the original property too, as much as possible. Geography skips were very weird in the show.
Yeah.
Like, I really wish the show instead had a map and was like showing you where people are going.
And they also had the cheap fan service with like the hacking method, and
I don't know.
Apparently those Pip-Boys were functional. Those were actual functioning Pip-Boys.
Well, what? They're just a smartphone built into it.
I think they were just like a rudimentary like device that had apps.
It was probably it is that. Yeah, it just has apps. Yeah.
That's showed in that specific format, like a Pokédex.
Right.
Fucking Pip-Boy. Yo, I bet those are worth a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, they're costume items, yeah.
But they're functioning. Like, they actually had to produce. I mean, they didn't have to do it. They were just being assholes, I think. They were just like,
it was visually striking. I will say the gunfights were boring. I thought the gunfights were very...
That's why they did that early, I think. And they just got that out of the way. Nobody gave a fuck.
The ending gunfight's so terrible.
I think the situational comedy was the best part.
Yeah,
the sitcom aspects. It's like, the bridge crossings. It was very. Yeah. It was like a samurai. It was like a samurai show more than anything. Like,
yeah.
It's goofy like that. Because Fallout, above all else, was also goofy.
I find it and believe in it being goofy. There's an intense argument over how goofy it should be.
I think it's
very
like,
long running.
I think it's like bleak and goofy, like Bloofy, like the guy fucking chicken scene that was sick. It's so funny. He's fucking my chickens. I think you're too passionate about the series to give it enough slack.
I agree. I am. I fully admit that.
Nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to be ashamed of.
I question whether it. Whatever, the tonal thing doesn't really matter. It was an enjoyable enough show. I would not point to it as necessarily a good work of Fallout media.
I just want them to stop making shows about adaptations of video games. They should just give that up. I really want them to stop doing that. Like, we're not babies. We could play our own fucking video games, okay? We don't need you to hold our hands there. So most of these video games are literally TV shows anyway. They're a little more interactive, like.
Yeah.
Just stop fucking making TV shows of out of video games. Just stupid.
I feel like. Yeah.
I mean, books are okay. You might as well do like fan fiction, call it fan fiction, whatever, or canonical canon fiction, canon fiction. But I don't know, shows and movies going way too far. You can't do it. It's not gonna work. What will happen and get weird is when it's like it transcends all of that. When either virtual reality or AR gets so intense, where it's like you could live out the movie and not just watch a movie or play a movie, like you actually live it out.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess. Yeah. But better than I expected. I'll give it that.
Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But I would not describe it as an accurate depiction. I don't know. You're right. I'm overly hung up on this.
No, there's something to be
It was
ashamed
enjoyable. So a lot of the original content was enjoyable. Visually, I don't like the way it looks. Everything looks like cosplay. Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, keep going.
Everything's like a little bit too clean, a little bit too bright.
How do you like the characters?
They're good. They're charming. They're actually all charming, so that actually is a big help.
Yes, the characters, in my opinion, were the show's strongest parts.
Action is the weakest, along with some of the plotting.
Honestly, it almost feels like fucking Wes Anderson directed it at some point.
Yeah, it does. It feels a little bit much. and like everything is too close together because I don't know, it's a television lot or whatever.
You know what? Actually, you could call it like Fallout on Broadway. It's like a Broadway play. It's like theater.
It does feel that way.
It's
and
more
the
like
sitcomness adds to that.
It's definitely more like Fallout theater than an actual like TV show.
Yeah.
Shit, that's good. I'm gonna pat myself in the back for that. Like, yeah, I would enjoy it as like you would enjoy like Pokemon on ice. You know, like
yeah,
it's good, but it is what it is. I mean, look, the sad part is the reason why I'm saying stop is because before I know it, first it's gonna be Fallout, then I'm gonna like see like, oh, on Netflix they're doing Metal Gear Solid, the TV show, and I'm like, oh, how far we've fallen.
I'd fucking hate a Metal Gear Solid TV show because it feels Metal Gear Solid feels so particular to the video game medium.
Yeah, it is.
The story, the way you play it.
But guess what? Nothing's sacred. You know, when it comes to video games, apparently they could just go in and rape any video game series.
Would Hideo Kojima be opposed to it?
The thing is, he can't do anything about it. It's not his. I mean, even if he is opposed to it, it's not. Konami made it very clear. And the reason why Hideo Kojima will never lift a finger, or anyone in his situation ever would lift a finger, because let's be real, Konami is straight up fucking Yakuza. Yeah. They are a Yakuza-run company. They are literally a fucking mob-run company. That's why they stopped making video games and they started specializing
pachinko machines,
and they got into like gambling games and shit for a reason. It's because fucking they're mob-run. They're mafia. They're a mafia company. I mean, they're still fucking around with Silent Hill because it's such a massive success. It's gonna bring money. They're not gonna slack on that. But like at the end of the day, yeah, I could definitely see them saying like, we would definitely sell out and make a television series out of Metal Gear Solid that we're gonna stream on Amazon Prime or Netflix.
Feels like it'd be difficult to shoot.
And our position is gonna be reversed. I'm gonna be like, I fucking hate this shit. This shit's terrible. Like, but yeah, and it would be difficult. To
I would still hate I would hate a Metal Gear Solid show.
Yeah, it would be pretty terrible. It would be really, really, really bad. But they would do it.
There's nothing else really like Metal Gear Solid.
Put it this way, they did a Silent Hill movie, and for all intents and purposes, it was fucking horrible. It was terrible. It was absolute pure shit. And it was a beloved series. So if they would do that to Silent Hill, why the fuck would they do that to Metal Gear Solid?
Okay, Metal Gear Solid is difficult to adapt genre-wise. Silent Hill, it's a horror movie. You adapt it to a horror movie.
Yeah, I guess.
So what exactly is Metal Gear Solid? It's sci-fi, action.
It's tactical espionage action.
Right. But outside of a video game frame, what does that look like? What does a tactical espionage action movie look like?
Okay, first I gotta start with.
Is it Metal Gear? Is it Mission Impossible?
There's one very small ingredient, like a dash of some like some crazy rare substance like mineral. I'd say that crazy X substance is 5% satire. Let's start with that.
Okay.
The Metal Gear Solid is definitely that little 5% satire. It's that goofiness.
There's a little bit of satire, but subtle. And if you increase the satire by just 1%, everything becomes cringe about it.
Yes, exactly. So they
it's
only
have a very
that
delicate tone that's Americans very difficult to do.
You can't, but they got it in Japan. They could do it.
It's really like WWE.
Yeah, exactly.
WWE is more over the top. Metal Gear
and Broadway,
Solid is more
it's very
sincere.
theatrical.
Yes.
It's like it's Shakespearean, you know.
But
so yeah, they fucking have that 5% of satire, and
it's
then
a little bit of. And the homoeroticism,
yes.
It's a little bit of a war story. It's a little bit of a spy story.
So
but
it's 5% satire, 20% sci-fi, and another 15% romance, and the rest is action, I would say, you know?
Yeah.
That's what makes it like really special, because it's got some like really heartfelt bits of it that's just so passionate. But
what movies currently exist are most like Metal Gear Solid?
Are you like Escape from New York, Escape from LA? I mean, that's where he ripped a lot of the likeness from and the inspiration.
Yeah, so I guess a Metal Gear Solid movie would have to be something like that.
Exactly, which is why it is like that. You know, a little bit of satire, a little bit of sci-fi, whole lot of action, a little bit of romance. Dude, Hideo Kojima is a straight up Ameribu. He's a Westabu as fuck motherfucker. He's a Westaku. He's a Westaku. Like
Westabu.
He's a Westabu.
Marabou.
He's in the Marabou, and he's damn good at it.
Yeah.
He's a damn good fucking Westaboo. That's why they're just gonna make a TV show and they can exploit it. And the reason this is, I think, why like he doesn't even care, because he's already working with like Norman Reedus, Guillermo del Toro, fucking like mad actresses from Europe and shit. Like he's doing it.
Yeah.
He's living the artistic side of video games out for sure. But at least he understands like video games is probably bigger than art. That's what
He
say,
definitely does.
Like, oh, people are saying, are video games art? I'm saying video games might be bigger than art, dude. Like, honestly, it's an industry. It's a need. It's a form of pleasure. It's a form of entertainment. It's a form of training. It's like, you know, like it's a form of like human development. It's crazy. Video games are like, it's a growing fucking industry still. You know, I think it was like 15, 20 years ago, maybe. Yeah, definitely like 20 years ago.
It's a huge industry, makes a tremendous amount of money.
20 years ago, I was sitting in math class, and my math teacher was like, video games are a growing industry. And that just wrong, because I never in my life would have ever thought a teacher in school would be saying that to me.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, like 12, 13 years old, and my teacher was sitting there saying, like, video games are a growing industry. And I was like, that just haunted me for the rest of my life, because I just saw it unfold. You know, after he said that, I was like, holy shit. And he was right. It is a growing industry. Dude, they have video games that could teach you how to drive stick shift. They have video games that could teach you how to play guitar. I wouldn't be surprised if they'll have video games out there soon enough that'll teach you how to fuck. They'll have video games that'll teach you how to like fucking talk to people. They'll have video games that teach you how to get a job.
Talking to people is the uninteresting one.
Well, yeah.
Very difficult to
Well, that's what social
simulate
media
that.
is. Social media is literally a video game that teaches you how to talk to people.
Yeah, but it causes a lot of, what would I say, dysfunctional speech patterns or behaviors.
Well,
it fosters them, grows them, creates them.
Yeah, well, I mean, video games can't just hand you the ability. They're a game for a reason. There's a challenge. You could lose the game. You know, like, video games aren't all about winning. You could lose, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're all pointing to, winning or losing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be gamified. You win if you do this. You lose if you do this. Yo, okay, so at the time of recording,
right?
I'm just talking to the audience, but like at the time of recording, it's one of the first days we've had this year so far where it's like above consistently mid 70s, where it's just like very warm.
It
out.
hit 80 today.
Yeah, it was dope. I wish I got to ride my bike today. I didn't because I had some shit to do. But I mean, I'm like so ready for bike season. You know, like I gotta like, you know, get you biking, and we'll all be biking, and yeah,
Something to look forward to this year.
Oh
So,
yeah.
How long have you been recording?
We're about time. We could think of like some closing thoughts and closing statements before anything. You know what? Let's do a gratitude thing. What are we each grateful for? I'll start. I am grateful for the fact that so far nobody seems to really give a fuck about the elections, which they're smart to do, because we all know it's a fucking farce.
So
we all know it's
emotionally
fucking
draining
bullshit.
and tedious and boring for the last few years of being on political high alert, fully mobilized all the time.
And what the fuck did we accomplish from it? Nothing but a huge.
Well, we ruined a lot of friendships.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck,
People spent a lot of time really miserable when everything was really good, like wealth-wise, in a very stable society.
And then suddenly, it's like we had a quote-unquote political awakening, like it was a magical thing. And
a
like,
racial reckoning.
You're fucking dumb as fuck, man. 2010s, mark the point. Like, I would always tell my grandkids, if I have any, like 2010s is when it all started going to shit.
Yeah.
But then I would
argue
like
it was like 2014, 2012. Maybe it was when Trayvon Martin happened. 2014, 2012. 2012 was Trayvon Martin.
There was also the feminist movement. I forgot what exactly triggered
The
that.
Me Too stuff?
Yes, that was that was.
You don't really hear about feminism much anymore. There was a period of time, late Obama era, when it was just feminism all the time. Campuses were a hotbed of rape. Women were being catcalled walking down the street.
It was all about the feminine. But
remember that video of the Jewess walking in the Bronx and being catcalled by blacks and Hispanics?
Yes.
That could only come out in 2014.
That's
when feminism was at its highest and anti-racism hadn't fully caught up. It couldn't come out now because it'd be called racist.
Yeah. You know what I think really sandbagged that like wave of feminism? It was the trans people.
And transmania, sweeping of the nation, was another factor too.
Because that really made a lot of feminists the enemy.
Yeah, certainly second wave ones, a bunch of third wave ones.
Oh yeah,
third wave, yeah.
And it couldn't jive. It couldn't mesh because the narrative started clashing. It took away a lot of the power. It took away a lot of the momentum. So now you have a bunch of non-gender conforming people performing in stuff like professional women's sports, and there's nothing they could do about it, and it's kind of sad. It's actually really unfortunate. I mean, I'm not gonna like celebrate that. It would be really bitter of a thing to do. So all I'm going to say is that it's all very unfortunate. Ultimately, how it all panned out.
Yeah.
Because I never got hurt by like rabid feminists. I've seen people get hurt by rabid feminists, but I personally have no beef. Like I never got hurt by.
Same.
So
I certainly did a lot of things to really push it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could have easily. That's why I sympathize, because like I could have easily been one of those guys whose lives have been absolutely shot. 100%. I was just as much at risk as any other guy, but it didn't happen to me. So it's hard for me to like feel that same anger, but at the same time, I do sympathize. I know why a human being would be really, really, really pissed off at the party that offended them. You know, like I get it. And so I don't know. I guess it's all perspective, but yeah, it's quite an unfortunate thing. But it is interesting how it all played out. It's almost like things just forces itself to balance out at the end of the day, no matter how oscillated it gets. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like going from one panic to another. And it's nice to bring us back to what you were saying before. People not talking about the election is kind of nice. People have been talking about Israel-Palestine stuff, but Ukraine, Russia, and Israel-Palestine are foreign issues, foreign policy issues. Yeah. So it's not as emotionally draining as hearing constantly about feminism, about racism, about trans. I'm not walking around. People go to their Palestinian protests, but even a lot of pretty liberal people seem burnt out by it.
I'm burnt out by it.
It feels like this year a bunch of people are trying to recapture the magic of 2020 and they're just not getting it.
Nope.
I should go to a few protests this year just to check
just to get your blood flowing again.
I wonder, I bet I could harass. I'm too old to be doing this, but I bet I could harass people without much consequence. Whereas in 2020, I definitely couldn't risk doing that.
It was like that scene of Kill Bill Volume 2 where the porn, the titty bar owner was doing coke with the stripper, and he's like, "Go ahead, baby. Be somebody," and he's offering her like sick lines. I was like, that's so raw. God, Quentin Tarantino had the evil eye. He had the gift. But yeah, you're right. You know, I like that people don't give a fuck about the election. Keep not giving a fuck. If we all collectively not give a fuck altogether, we could see how they run around in their little fucking.
I mean, people just get elected with a smaller share of the vote.
Yeah, but it's like there's no other way but a ridiculous outcome. Like, what's gonna happen? Either fucking Trump wins or this geriatric idiot wins. Like, what the fuck could they possibly do? Like,
does it feel like a rerun that bores people, or a very formulaic sequel in a long-running series?
It feels like this wild state of where it's like you guys are back
saying I am tired of calling Trump Biden the MCU of presidential elections.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like Saturday Night Live was pushed to its limits with comedy, and now it's just the most unfunny thing. Same thing here. It's like you've been pushed to your limits of ridiculousness, guys. Like, what the fuck could you possibly pull? You're gonna make what? Joe Biden become president, and you're banking on what? He dies, and the vice president becomes president, and you just shoot the next one in, or you're gonna pull Joe Biden from the election because he starts having mysterious health problems. Everyone's been saying this shit. You know, like Joe Rogan's been saying this shit. Not to reference like the biggest podcaster in the world, but like. Yeah, he fucking apparently agrees.
I think the nice thing, Biden is a charming figure, as is Trump. I honestly have fondness for both men.
Because they're old as fuck now. You can't hate on them. What are you going to do, fight them? All right, go fight these old ass retards.
I love this. I mean, it's... You know what really sucked about the Trump era? So many funny things were happening, and so many people got mad at you for laughing about it. There's so many things I wanted. This is so fucking funny. It's so retarded, and no one wanted to laugh about how fun it was.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, but it was such
Trump was the best on Twitter.
It was hilarious, but no one wanted to have fun with it. It was so frustrating. Everyone was so sanctimonious.
Yeah, you never had a president on Twitter. That was another problem. Like, I'm sure all the presidents would have acted a damn fool on Twitter. You know, like, like all of them. Like, Lyndon B. Johnson on Twitter. Yeah. Or that peanut farmer, Carter. Like,
Carter, yeah.
So let me tell you about peanuts, boy.
I mean,
yeah, like any president on Twitter would be a fucking retard. Are you kidding me?
Trump clearly going off the cuff on his own Twitter as opposed to being through a managed release team.
Yo, JFK on Twitter would be just posting pictures of mad bitches. Like, you know, like, he'd be standing next to mad bitches like, what up? He's like posting stuff. He's like, what up?
That would be an interesting thing if Trump returns to Twitter, which I feel like he's going to.
Oh, he better. As a POTUS,
he might be legally required to stay on Truth Social. Maybe it's all part of a marketing campaign before his big comeback.
Trump on Twitter. He was,
again, return to Twitter.
I was like, none of these guys can tell jokes. Like Trump or Biden, they can't tell jokes. And someone commented, he's like, I don't know. Some might say Trump is the best at telling jokes. You know, I was like, he's actually really fucking funny.
I saw a tweet recently that said it's going to be hard for younger people to believe, but there was a time when the average American could go more than 6 months without thinking about the Batman villain, the Joker. Adults used to go long periods of time without thinking of children's media characters. There once was a time when you could go long periods of time without thinking about the president.
Listen, here's what I always said.
Yeah.
When it comes to those DC Marvel superheroes, I remember I was a teenager. I was like 16, 17. I said that these guys are going to be like how the Romans viewed Greek gods. You know, like how they viewed like Hercules or their versions of Hercules, or how even the Greeks, how they viewed their gods. Like that's their Supermans, their Spider-Mans, and their Wonder Womans. You know, like these are our gods, literally. You know, that we conjured just with our collective imagination, and channeled into like guys like Jewish Stanley and fucking
Still feels,
and you know what, a lot of people have it out for Jewish people for like, you know, owning media, but I'm like, who the fuck else would you want else to do it? You think the Christians do you think the Christians or the Muslims could have done a better job running Hollywood? Let me tell you, buddy, that's not true. No, you do not want the Catholics, the Christians, the Muslims, or any. I think the Jews did a good job with
they did a very good job for a long time with Hollywood.
Yeah.
In general, entertainment feels like it has a lot in a deep decline, but there's still things there.
I congratulate them, guys. Job well done. I mean, yeah, maybe slipping up now. I could see the cracks, and we could all see the game. We could all see the jig is up. You know, guys like P. Diddy, for example. It's not just movies and TV. It's music too. You know, like and guys like P. Diddy is like being put out to pasture. I think this is it. Like that's when you're in that position. Like this is how you retire. It's like you go through your fucking Fed shit. You know, you get raided. Blah blah blah. I'm retiring. Too much drama. I want to spend more time with my kids, my family. I want to live my life in peace. Yeah. And he still has like billions and billions of dollars in assets. You know, it's like, all right, goodbye. Like, you know, no one gives like everyone knows P. Diddy, but does anyone really give a fuck about P. Diddy? The answer is no, right?
No. Yeah, there are other celebrities, but they're real people. They come and go.
Yeah.
And I know people always talk about who the president is. I wonder, well, I get the strong feeling boomers spend a lot less time thinking about who was president, most of them, in their 20s and 30s, than millennials have spent thinking about who's been president over the past 8 years.
Yeah, because now we have information technology.
More.
That changes the game.
Television's information technology, but yeah, I know what you mean. I know
Like, no, we have like instantaneous,
Yeah.
like crazy shit now. It's really nuts, actually. We can't take that for granted.
And the overlap with reality TV,
Yeah.
as with pro wrestling, sports entertainment.
Yeah.
How about having a political news? Well, I mean, and of course, there's political entertainment, infotainment.
How do I feel about it?
No, I mean, I'm trying to articulate a merger of politics with entertainment.
Oh, I mean,
Similar to sports and entertainment or pro
like-
wrestling.
Political comics have always been a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so to close it off,
Yeah.
you still haven't said what you're grateful for.
I'm grateful because it feels like my life is a lot more stable than it has been in a very long time.
That's so
possibly
ironic
forever.
because you moved to New York for that to
Yeah.
happen. That's so fucked up. I had to move to the most chaotic city literally in the world. I truly think New York City is the
Yeah.
most chaotic city. Actually, that's not true. I think LA is far more chaotic than New York City.
I'm sure like Cairo's,
What?
somewhere like Cairo or
Dubai.
yeah,
Taipei or Bangkok.
and probably Mumbai.
Anyway, with that, we leave you people in good faith and good energy. Stay strong. Drop
Have
a like
nice night.
and a subscribe. That's the first time I say that. I should start saying that more often or put a button.
Yeah, they'll probably like